you could see yourself in my eyes, you'd see you shine, you shine. I know you'd never leave me behind. I am lost this time. Are we destined to burn, or will we last the night? I will hold you till I hold you right. If only you could see yourself in my eyes.
Happy Friday, beautiful people. Welcome back to Morning Coffee with your host, Rick Alexander. Yesterday, I talked a little bit about motivations and the gods that tend to pull the levers behind the scenes, or the puppet master that pulls the strings. And sometimes if we don't make ourselves aware of who's pulling those strings or why they're being pulled, we tend to find ourselves in a position that we're not super happy with. But I also think that sometimes there's a tendency just not to question things, right? Like we just sort of fall in line. And so today that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about. Because if we look at the way that humans live their life, I think it could be improved upon. And often I think it could be improved upon simply by questioning what the hell you're doing. Like, why are you doing what you are doing? Perhaps it's due in large part because of the fact that we all live in a world of learned helplessness. Because regardless of what is written on the walls, we feel like we have to adhere to a code that dictates our behavior and the risks that we can and cannot take. And so when I say learned helplessness, this is what I mean. I mean this idea that perhaps sometimes we want things to change, but it's like we're looking for a leader. We're looking for somebody to tell us it's okay to go in that direction. Are you guys familiar with the 5 monkeys experiment? So an experimenter, I'm going to go over it quick. An experimenter put 5 monkeys in a large cage. And then high up at the top of the cage, well beyond the reach of the monkeys, is a bunch of bananas. Underneath the bananas is a ladder. The monkeys immediately spot the banana and one begins to climb the ladder. As he does, however, the experimenter sprays him with a stream of cold water. Then he proceeds to spray each of the other monkeys. The monkey on the ladder scrambles off, and all 5 sit for a time on the floor, wet, cold, and kind of confused and bewildered. Soon, though, the temptation of the bananas is too great, and another monkey begins to climb the ladder. Again, the experimenter sprays the ambitious monkey with cold water and all the other monkeys as well. When a third monkey tries to climb the ladder, the other monkeys, wanting to avoid the cold spray, pull him off the ladder and beat him. Now, one monkey is removed and a new monkey is introduced to the cage. Spotting the bananas, he naively begins to climb the ladder. The other monkeys pull him off and beat him. Here's where it gets interesting. The experimenter removes a second one of the original monkeys from the cage and replaces him with a new monkey. Again, the new monkeys begin to climb the ladder, and again, the other monkeys pull him off and beat him, including the monkey who had never been sprayed. By the end of the experiment, none of the original monkeys were left, and yet, despite none of them ever experiencing the cold, wet spray, they had all learned never to try and go for the bananas. And so my question in light of this is, how many of the life lessons, wisdom, and rules have you adopted over the years of your life without really ever knowing why? Most of us operate based on societal norms and have no idea why. We've learned helplessness because we're too afraid to ask why and question outcomes. Think about us operating our lives as if we all live in a convoy of cars trying to get somewhere in life. It's entirely possible we're all following the person in front of us, yet the person in the front has no idea where they're going or why they're going there in the first place. Because I think this monkey experiment gives us a really cool insight into human behavior and how we go about things in our lives. I think that experiment is a good analogy for human civilization today. Because if you look at our lives, if you look at our systems, if you look at the school system and the way that we structure things, they were obviously structured for a very important reason. But the thing is that the world evolves, and the needs of the world evolve, and the needs of the people that are stewards of that world evolve with it. Or they should evolve with it. But what happens when they don't evolve with it is you have a bunch of monkeys beating the shit out of somebody who goes for the bananas, and not anybody in there actually knows why. And so you have to root through your own life, and you have to think about why you're doing what you're doing and whether or not it's warranted, because sometimes it is, and sometimes you find that you're doing something because it's quote unquote always been done that way and it's passed down through generations. And what's even more interesting is if you are doing something that's making you unhappy, like living the rat race or living within some kind of box or system that's been passed down to you, it might be that there's no reason for that system in the first place. The people that question outcomes become innovators, and they are the ones that move the world forward. And the truth is the world doesn't always need the same things. In our parents' generation, or even the generation before that, when you look Industrial Revolution, the birth of capitalism, it gave the world a lot of really crazy things. We've got cell phones now, we've got smartphones. I can start a radio show from my closet if that's what I want to do. I'm not in a closet anymore, but that's where I started. And if I look at these things, it's like the world needed this burst of industry and capitalism because it allowed us to bring education up. It allowed us to bring wisdom and knowledge to people all over the world. It lowered the barrier to entry to a lot of jobs and things that we might want to do. But now the world needs something else, right? Now the world, millennials used to get a lot of shit because they kind of came into the world and weren't so satisfied with the status quo. And at first, I kind of rejected that idea that I was a millennial. And then I realized that the big thing behind millennials is that what they need in their life is purpose, right? They're not content to just punch the clock and have that be noble in itself. And if I'm being super honest, that's me to a T, right? I believe in purpose. I believe in not doing anything if you don't know why, if you're not getting the gratification from it. And if you are doing something, if you are struggling for something, then I believe that you should only do that when the end justifies the means. So realistically, I kind of am a millennial in age and in philosophy. But the idea here is that we're all acting on what came before us, but the needs of the world have changed. The landscape of the environment has changed. We're in a much different position. We need a different roadmap to navigate it. And if you don't have that other roadmap, then you have to just kind of question outcomes and not be too afraid to stand up and ask why. And truthfully, if you ask why and somebody gets frustrated or they don't want to explain it to you, then you need to find a different teacher or a different doctor or a different preacher or whoever it is that you're going to for advice. If they can't explain their justification, then there's a good chance they're just beating you down like the other monkeys and have no idea why. And that's a terrible way to go through life. So the thing for you to think about today is why are you doing what you're doing? And especially try to think about the things that are very robotic. We take for granted these things that we just have to do, and we just think we have to do them. And it's at some level, you have to really dive into why and figure out what's going on there. It can be really comforting to follow the person in front of you, to assume that they know the answers. But one of the secrets of adulthood is you get here and you realize everybody's just making it up. Nobody really has the answers. It might be comforting to follow the person in front of you, but it's sure as hell not going to breed contentment with your life, and it's definitely not going to get you somewhere that you definitely want to be. You're just hoping that the people that are leading you are going to deliver a life to you that you would actually want to live. And I think that what people are finding more and more is that model isn't actually working. So question outcomes, question motivations, question why you're doing what you're doing. And if it's not needed, don't be afraid to let things go that aren't actually benefiting your life. I love you guys. I hope you find some adventure this weekend. I'll talk to you Monday on Morning Coffee.
'Cause I was getting ready for the night. Said putting on some clothes and I drove to the store. 'Cause I'm picking up a bottle of some wine. Me and my baby gonna raise the night, because I'm dancing and romancing with a little chit-chat in between. I'm a smooth talking machine, says I keep my baby all she needs. I never had to ask for anything I please, 'cause she sure does love me good. A kiss to my lips, the movement of her hips, oh yeah. She sure does treat me well. I really hope I don't screw this up again. She sure does love me good. A kiss to my lips, the movement of her hips, oh yeah. She sure does treat me well. I really hope I don't screw this up. 'Cause I'm faded, I'm sedated, sipping on my 40 and I'm feeling the pain. And I'm faded, I'm sedated, puffed off the connect in the silent game. 'Cause I'm it's sounding so nice. I hear it every time I look into your eyes. 'Cause when I first saw you, said when I first saw you, my life seemed Sipping up on my 40 and I'm feeling the pain and I'm faded. I'm sedated. Puffed up the chronic and it's all a game because I'm faded. I'm sedated. Sipping up on my 40 and I'm feeling the pain and I'm faded. I'm sedated. Puffed up the chronic and it's all a game because I'm faded. I'm sedated. Sipping up on my 40 and I'm feeling the pain and I'm faded. I'm sedated. Puffed up the chronic and it's all a game because I'm faded. I'm sedated. Sipping up on my 40 and I'm feeling the pain and I'm faded. I'm sedated. Puffed up the chronic and it's all a game because I'm faded.
Resting in Cookingham Palace right now. That's right. Cookingham, dude. You're Cookingham Palace right now. Cook. You're a cook. You're a cook right now. Okay.
Your message was no longer free. Press 1. Thank you. Your message has been sent. Goodbye.
Goodbye.